In life and leadership, disruption rarely sends a calendar invite. For many of us, we can agree that it usually slips into ordinary moments that suddenly redraw the map. How we move through those unexpected, high-stakes thresholds does not define our worth, but it does illuminate the tapestry of our inner life. And what I mean by that, the stories we have stitched about being enough, the fears we've woven just beneath the surface, the unspoken questions your soul keeps threading through symbols, images, and scattered quilt scraps of memory. I invite you to gently turn inward today for a moment and notice, what are you navigating right now? How does it actually feel in your body, your soul, your mind, and your spirit? Can you begin to imagine the kind of outcome that could exist on the other side of this disruption, this change, this crisis? And one that is more aligned with who you are becoming. And what might be your next wise step toward that future? Welcome to Achieve Intentional Transformation podcast with Dr. Leonie H. Mattison. For more than 2 decades across higher education, government, nonprofit, and the private sector, I have walked with leaders, teams, and communities as they navigate disruption, reimagine their future, and reclaim what matters most. If you're leading complex change or standing in a season you never would have chosen, I see you. My intention in this space is simple and deep: to help you see more clearly, feel less alone, and take your next step with greater courage, clarity, and peace. Thank you for the gift of your presence, your time, and the work you carry forward in the world. So welcome, my friends. It is such a beautiful day to be alive and to be on top of the earth. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Achieve Intentional Transformation podcast. It is always such an honor. I'm just grateful to be able to bring this work forward to support you. This podcast is devoted to helping you and your organization achieve intentional transformation and the outcomes that truly matter in your leadership, your work, and your inner life. Each episode, my goal is to provide an invitation for you to pause, reflect, and make one wise decision aligned with who you are. And it really helps you to move toward greater wholeness and impact. Yes, we are in the heart of the holiday season. And for some, I'm part of that some. This season, this is a season of listening, learning, and even laughing and maybe even lingering a little longer around tables. For others, it is a season of longing, fussing, fatiguing, and trying to hold it all together while so much feels uncertain. As you may recall, in episode 1, I shared that we would be diving deeper into each step of the THREAD thread system. However, over the past couple of days since the publication of that episode, many of you have reached out with emails and direct messages naming what you're going through. And I did make a promise that this podcast is for you and with you. Because of what you shared, I rescheduled the original sequence so I could release this episode for you today. I want you to know that this is a resource that you can return to anytime you are in the middle of a change, unexpected change, disruption, or crisis. And you just need, to really steady yourself from the inside out. So let me share a couple of what I have heard over the past couple of days. For some of you, you share that you recently discovered that a consequential decision was made without you. Someone you trusted at home or work has been telling a story, one story in a room and another outside it. A forwarded email or text message, an omitted calendar invite, a passing comment, and in a single beat, what you assumed was alignment is exposed as fracture. In the silence that follows, it is pretty easy to start sorting through the scraps of the story. At least that's what you thought. But as you continue sorting through those scraps, you realize that you find yourself replaying conversations, second-guessing your instincts, questioning your own judgment and worth, and even wondering if you somehow fail to see what was always there. Inside it can look like someone has emptied a box of old quilt pieces, and I just want to make sure that we all agree that Dr. Lee looks through the lenses of tapestry and quilt, those practices. I do look through those lenses, and so how I have interpreted what you shared with me is that inside it can feel like someone has emptied a box of old quilt scraps at your feet. And these scraps are tattered, they're mismatched, they're dark, really dark scraps of a life you thought was whole. I've heard from you that you stepped into a meeting prepared with an agenda that was aligned with where the organization was going. You had sound data, a clear case for the future of your team, a project that you've been working on, or even your business line. In your mind, this was the conversation that was supposed to move things forward. However, a few minutes into those meetings, the role or relationship shifts. The initiative is shelved, or the mandate evaporates. And you walk out carrying the weight of shame, self-doubt, and the disorienting questions of why me? Why now? What once felt like a coherent career chapter or even a evolving relationship has now turned suddenly into you feeling like you're carrying scattered fabric on the floor, like you're picking up, you see them on the floor and you're like trying to pick them up. And these fabrics, the threads and the colors, it's like they have no clear pattern, right? It's just a whole bunch of mess. And you're left holding it, right? You have all of this mess in your hands. And what I've also heard from you is that you have invested years in building something beyond yourself. A team, a unit, a company, or even a community effort. You've stabilized crisis, attracted talent, and defended the mission when others were tired. Then metrics, fatigue, and turnover converge. And before you know it, you're in the middle of restructuring, a strategic pivot, a divorce, a closure, and almost overnight, everything, like this old ecosystem or enterprise that held so much of your effort, no longer exist in the form that at least that you knew it. And so for you, you're left holding fragments of unfinished projects, relationships mid-sentence, a title that no longer exists. And it's like you're left with these worn, heavy quilled scraps. And these scraps, just imagine this, just bear with me here. These scraps are frayed at the edges. They're dark with memory. And it is so easy to mislabel them as worthless. Because right now it just seems like a burden. Like the material is just a burden. You don't see beauty in it anymore. You just see burden. I invite you to pause together for a moment. Let's pause. If it is safe to do so, I want you to just allow your shoulders to soften. And if you can, just place your feet on the floor. I'm actually doing it with you. And I just want to invite you to take a slow breath through your nose. Just count 4 in, hold it, count 4, and just release it 4. Okay, so we're going to do that together. 1, 2, 3. Let's try that again. My friends, you do not have to fix anything in this moment. I'm simply inviting you to acknowledge what you have been carrying. The way we move through these unexpected high stakes moments does not define us. And it does not require us to dodge hard feelings, sacrifice our values, or numb out through overwork, conflict, or perfectionism. What you have shared with me is that you are not looking for quick fix and you don't want to ignore your reality. What I heard from you is that you're asking for practical soul honoring strategies that help you to stay present, tell yourself the truth, and work with disruption, crisis, or change in a way that reveals rather than distort the deeper pattern of your inner world. What I mean by that, your inner world, the beliefs you have stitched around your worth, the fears that live just beneath the surface, the unspoken questions your soul keeps asking in symbols. They show up in your dreams, even in moments where your scrap shows up as memory. And here's the invitation. Those same moments can become inflection points. They're not verdicts. I believe that they're symbols. They're a form of signal from your deeper wisdom about what is ready to be seen, felt, released, and rewoven, and even reimagined as well. And so with a bit more awareness, compassion, and intentionality, I want to emphasize that word, being intentional. You, my friend, you have the power. It's already in you. You can shift from depleting who you are to developing you, from tearing the fabric to strengthening the weave. You can do that. It's in you. Today, I'm going to give you a simple set of practices to help you transform disruption, change, or crisis into intentional transformation. I don't want you to just survive it. And so in this episode, I will walk you through 5 things. 1, how to identify exactly what you're going through. How to name and normalize the feelings this disruption has activated in you. I want you to reconnect with your deepest self so you can hear the message that this disruption, this crisis, this change was sent to deliver to you. How to get crystal clear about the outcome you want to achieve so you are not just reacting but choosing. And finally, how to take the next wise, right-size action that moves you towards that outcome. So my friend, whether you're listening in the car, whether you're cooking in the kitchen, or moving around in the kitchen, because I don't think everybody's cooking in the kitchen, or maybe you're in the office, I want you to get ready to achieve intentional transformation and the outcomes that matters to you, one wise decision at a time. So let's take another deep breath. Allow me to begin with a core insight from the THREAD thread system. And from what we know in psychology and neuroscience about how humans respond to disruption, if you're still here, I believe it is likely, not because you're studying disruption from a safe distance, but because you are already inside it. Maybe for you, a conversation has shifted, or a decision has landed, or a loss or transition is in motion. Or maybe your mind is trying to stay composed while your body and spirit carry more than you can comfortably name. I have been there. I know what that feels like. When something threatens our safety or sense of safety or status or belonging, the nervous system does not pause to ask, what is the most intentional response I can offer as a leader, as a mother, as a wife, whatever position or whoever you are, whatever, how you describe yourself. No, the nervous system quietly asks, am I in danger? And it begins to reorganize your inner world around survival. The parts of the brain and psyche that support perspective, nuance, and creativity, guess what? It moves into the background. While the older, more protective pattern steps forward. And for many of you, you may notice that this is something that shows up as impulse, this impulse to send a message, a rapid response to something that you've heard, or you may find that you over-explain, or you may withdraw, or you may check out of relationship, or the role that you've been craving for, you check out of it mentally. Or for many of you, you may even begin building a case in your head for why you are right and everyone else that they are wrong. In my book, The Thread, 6 Steps for Intentional Transformation, and my new book that's coming, I won't share what it is as yet. You have to wait. What I've learned is that psychologists sometimes refer to this as emotional flooding. And that is the integrating, reflective part of the mind becomes less accessible and well rehearsed, right? Defenses usually take the lead. In other studies, I've found that these are the moments when the archetypal patterns we carry around power, abandonment, authority, or worthiness rise to the surface and actually start speaking through us. In my studies also, I found that ancient spiritual traditions recognized this way before we had language, right? For neural circuitry. Ancient spiritual traditions say that, or really define this as how we and they in this practice invited leaders to create a small pocket of stillness between what happened to them and what they choose to do next. So from that perspective, what I've learned is that the soul, not just the wound, could have a voice. So stay tuned for more on that. If you picture your life right now, you may see maybe yourself raising a family while carrying demanding role, right? Many of us as mothers, single mothers, or many of us were juggling wearing so many different hats and juggling so many different things all at once, that we're stewarding a high performing team, maybe through another reorganization. Many of us in leadership have been there, right? Or we're holding responsibility for change in a complex institution where every decision feels scrutinized. I know many of you have shared that with me. And so in a moment of tension, someone questions your decision or your care or your character, such as a colleague or a family member, and they may say something like, "You never listen." Oh my God, have we heard that from our teenagers, right? Or you may hear something like, "You do not understand." And so before words can even form on our tongue, your body has already reacted with heat in your face, tightness in your chest, or a sudden drop in energy that makes you even want to leave the room literally or even emotionally. From that flooded place, it becomes very easy to interpret, to really interrupt the soul and start to interrupt and interpret. We start to defend, we start to blame, we even start to disappear behind a polished professional silence that looks composed but feels like a shutdown on the inside. It can feel in a moment as if you are taking control, yet what is actually happening is that your power is being handed back to your storyline. You're longing to transform. It's almost like the persona and the ego is at war. We'll talk about that in another episode, because And what I mean by that is the old narrative gets reinforced. The other person's deepest fears about you seemed confirmed, and your own quiet doubts about yourself grow a little louder. It's almost like their projection on you. Check. They've won. And so this is why intentionality matters, not when everything is calm, but precisely when you are already in crisis, disruption, or a painful change. When you begin to notice what is happening in your inner world in real time, and you permit yourself to make one wise, grounded decision at a time instead of a cascade of fast, reactive ones, the pattern starts to shift first in you, then in your relationships, and eventually in the systems that you lead, whether at home or in the workplace. From my experience, this is where disruption becomes meaningful data rather than verdict against you. And what I mean by that is emotions becomes a signal you can listen to rather than a force that drives the entire exchange. All right. I know you're asking, all right, Dr. Lee, what are you talking about? I get it. And I would ask the same question too. All right. So let me share a brief example of how this played out in my own life and leadership. I was invited from a national pool to, actually it's an international pool, now that I think about it, to serve as a senior executive for a long established institution. And I stepped in as one of the first Black women to serve in this role and to lead this organization. From the beginning, I was clear with the During the recruitment process, I was very transparent with the board and the community about my top 3 values that anchor my leadership. And they are integrity, teamwork, and happiness. Don't mess with my happiness. Don't mess with my happiness. It's so important to me. I named how that looks in practice, such as truth telling, shared decision making, and creating conditions where people can do excellent work without sacrificing their health, joy, or purpose. And if you've ever worked with me, if you've ever partnered with me or read or interacted with any of my work, you have experiences. I know this for sure because I live this. Very quickly, it became clear I was not entering a blank slate. It's almost like I was stepping into a tapestry, right? It's a tapestry that was already in the works for many years. Like many institutions right now, it was carrying historic complexity, external pressure, and relationships in need of repair. As a trauma-informed leader and executive, I could feel both the hope for change and the anxiety about what real change would require. Over time, it also became clear that the long-term direction, some stakeholders' vision, what they had envisioned and the way I'm called to lead were no longer fully aligned. So formal decisions followed, bringing my season there to a close. In that moment, let me share with you, in that moment, my nervous system did what any human nervous system does. It wanted to replay every meeting, over-explain. Brene Brown called this the please, perfect, perform. I wanted to manage every version of the story. Instead, because I've been doing this work for a long time, I made a conscious decision to return to my values. I cried. I had to release it. I practiced humming. I have a video on my YouTube channel that you can go ahead and watch. I'm actually working on a longer version right now about how to release pain through humming. But I had to hum through this. I sat in my car that day and I cried. I cried for days. I stayed in bed and I cried. I had to allow my body to release the pain in different ways. Not only did I cry, but as I said before, I consciously returned to my values. I honored the work my team and I had done, along with and in partnership with the entire community, including the board. I allowed myself to grieve. It has taken very many months, right, to grieve what was ended and what has ended. And I also asked a deeper question during those moments. I asked, Leonie girl, who are you becoming through this? And what is the wisest story you want to carry forward? It's actually on a sticky note in many places in my home. Let me just repeat that again. The question that I had to ask myself. Leonie, who are you becoming through this? This crisis, this sudden change, this what felt like it was just painful. Who am I becoming through it? And what is the wisest story I want to carry forward? So here are some phrases that helped me in that season, and I hope it will help you too. You can use them as quiet reminders to yourself. I would ask myself, and I will drop that in the show notes. So I will use these as quiet reminders to myself. I did not choose what happened, but I can choose how I show up. I did not have control or manipulate other people's actions. My work is to take one wise, values-aligned step at a time. I choose curiosity and deep listening over attacking, defending, or proving a point. I can honor my truth without dishonoring others. I can feel this deeply and still respond wisely. I'm allowed to protect my health, my dignity, and my peace. This moment is a messenger, not a final verdict about my worth. I do not need to win this argument. I need to be faithful to who I am. Just reading that again, just remembering that again, just activated emotions for me. I also told myself I can take a pause. Urgency does not have to drive my next move. I release what I cannot control and focus on the next right thing I can do. This is laid down like I'm looking at this on my sticky notepad right in front of me. You can also bring this same spirit into conversation with others. And from that place, here are some wise self questions. I call them brave questions and responses and what they sound like. So what I just shared with you is, a lot of self-talk, right? Just reminder to myself, but also in my engagement following that experience, I knew that I was going to be in conversation. So here are some ways that I intentionally drove those conversations. I would ask questions like, help me understand what you're seeing from your side. Or, I'm curious how you arrived at that conclusion. Or, what feels most concerning to you in this situation? Or, what do you need to feel safe enough to consider a shift? How can we move through this in a way that honors both the people and the work? Here is what I'm experiencing. Can I share that with you? What outcome are you hoping for, and how can we align around that? I hear what matters to you. Here's what matters to me. Where is our common ground? I'm willing to stay at the table as long as we can speak to each other with respect. I may not agree with every decision, but I'm committed to engaging this conversation with integrity. Here's the thing, my friends. When we choose intentional transformation, we remember that people in front of us are always carrying their own stories, their own fears, and their own longings. It's not always about you. It's not always about me. Before we react, we have an opportunity to tap into our wise, brave inner self and let that part of us choose the next word, the next decision, and the next step. Allow me now to connect this lived experience to a core insight from the THREAD thread system and from what we know in psychology and neuroscience about, again, how we as human beings respond to disruption. As I said before, when something threatens our sense of safety, status, or belonging, our nervous system does not pause to ask, what is the most intentional response I can offer as a leader? And in this moment, it quietly asks, am I in danger? Am I safe? And it begins to reorganize survival. So let's take another deep breath. I invite you to take another deep breath with me because I know you're navigating a lot. I imagine that there might even be some resistance to what you're hearing, and that is okay. That is okay. Before we go any further, I'd like to invite in an image that has carried me through some of the most disoriented seasons of my life in leadership, and that is a lit lamp. I grew up on a kerosene oil lamp. I have a video on my YouTube channel where I talk about the lamp, so you can go ahead and check that out as well. The lamp is not just the flame, but I want you to just begin to picture the image of the whole lamp. And what I mean by that is the lamp that has a solid base that keeps it steady. In the lamp, there is oil that fuels it. There's also a wick that draws that fuel upward. There's a shade that shapes how the light is held. And then there's a flame that others can see. This is an image I often turn to during times of disruption, pressure, or painful change because it really helps me to tend my own soul, my spirit, my body, my mind, and my boundaries all at once. What I have learned is that when our outer world feels unstable, the work is not to stop the storm. The work is to steady the base, to check the oil, tend the wick, adjust the shade, and protect your flame. That is another way of saying, pay attention to what is holding you, what is fueling you, what is drawing wisdom up in you, how you are containing your light, and how you are choosing to show up. And you have the power to do that. And I know when we're going through crisis, disruption, and really painful changing moments, it's so easy to give our power away. So I invite you now to just slow this process down and practice together inside the reality that you're living. Not in an abstract model or perfect case scenario. That's not what we're about. I want you to be able to take what we do here into your next meeting, the next difficult conversation, your next quiet moment alone. It's always starts with you, my friends. And so as we walk through these five movements I'm about to share with you, I ask that you please keep this lit lamp in mind, right? It's a lit lamp. As I said, there is a video on my YouTube channel that talks about how I see the lamp as it relates to our mind, our body, our soul, and our boundaries. All right, so let's begin. So let's begin with the wheel of life. When we talk about, remember earlier I shared with you the goals of this episode. So how do you identify exactly what you're going through? I have found, and I also in my thread book and the workbook, I talk about the wheel of life. So if you're able, I invite you to just grab a notebook or the note apps on your phone. And you may want to, on your phone, maybe Google the wheel of life. And I want you to imagine a circle that's divided into slices, right? It's almost like a quilt or a tapestry that I shared earlier, with each section representing an area of your life and leadership. You might name your slices: work, life, health, finances, spiritual life, friendships, community, rest, whatever categories you feel most true to you. Now gently ask yourself, where is the disruption pressing on me the most right now? You may notice one slice that feels inflamed, overextended, or even neglected, right? You do not need to fix anything right now. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm inviting you to simply just locate the pressure point. It is so important for you to be able to locate where is this pain coming from? Like, where am I experiencing a crisis, a disruption, or a deep change, right? Because naming the arena where the disruption, the change, or the crisis is most alive, it helps you to stop saying, everything in my life is falling apart. And I want you to start saying more precisely, I hope I said that correctly, where your soul, where your system, if it's for the organization, where your family, like where is the crisis? Like what is most under strain right now? Where is your soul? Where's the system under strain? Now, in the LAMP language, this is where you're checking the base. And for me, I start to notice where the structure that holds me is steady and where it has been shaken. So like I said, sometimes we say, oh, my life is falling apart. No, it's not your life is falling apart. It is a slice, a piece, using the wheel of life. There is, and sometimes there are multiple things going on, right? But I want you to be so intentional so that you're able to identify where the structure that holds you is steady and where it is being shaken. Once we know where the pressure is landing, now we want to move to the feelings. And for this, or your emotions, if you want to, your emotions, your feelings, I use the feelings wheel. So get online, Google the feelings wheel. I'll have that in the show notes as well. This is where many high-performing leaders want to skip ahead. And I understand because feelings can seem soft. Has no place in leadership, we always say, until it becomes optional. But from a trauma-informed and neuroscience perspective, guess what? Unacknowledged emotions does not disappear. It leaks out in tone. It leaks out in our timing. It also leaks out in our decisions, policies or practices, and even our partnerships and more. So I invite you to look inward and ask, what is the dominant feeling living in this slice of my life right now? Name the feeling. Is it fear, anger, disappointment, shame, sadness, relief, confusion, or a strange mixture of all of the above? My friend, if you know the feelings wheel, just choose one word from it, or many. It could be, like I said, it could be multiple. If you do not be honest, like if we choose not to be honest with and tell ourselves the truth by saying, I feel afraid, I feel humiliated, I feel like I fail, I feel hopeful, or I feel exhausted, all of it at once. These are all happening at the same time. It's okay to acknowledge that. Giving your inner world accurate language is not self-indulgent. I believe that it is data for wise decision making. Nothing inside you, my friends, has to remain vague or unnamed. And here you're tending to the oil of your lamp. And that is the emotional fuel that is already present, whether or not you acknowledge it. Number 3, from there, we move into what I call soul listening. So let me give you a brief tour of what soul listening could look like. For me, this is what it looked like. Soul listening begins with a gentle shift of attention. And this is where it is safe to do so. So you might let your shoulders soften. We did that a little bit. I asked that you just soften your shoulders, place your feet on the ground, allow your breath to lengthen just a bit. You're not trying to become someone else. You're simply arriving more fully as yourself. You might imagine that the noise of the day is moving a few steps back and an inner room is opening where you can hear your soul. For those who, are connected and believe that we are just not here by ourselves, that we have a higher power, whether you call him God or not, I call him God. You and your own deepest wisdom can sit for a moment. And so first you notice your body, where there's tightness, weight or strain, where there is erase. You notice, are you judging yourself? What are you finding when you allow your body to tell the truth before your mind releases or try to explain it away? So you want to listen. It's almost having a seat in your own soul just to listen, to notice your thoughts, to notice what sentences are repeating themselves, to notice your fears, your criticism, your hopes, like what is circling in your mind. You have to sit quietly and notice that. And guess what? In those moments, you don't have to debate them. You just acknowledge, yes, this is what my mind is saying right now. Then you turn inward your emotions. Name them to yourself. And maybe for you, it's sadness. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's disappointment. So it goes back to the feelings again, right? Name it. But then you get to ask yourself the deeper question of, what might this disruption be showing me about what I value, what I need, or what I can no longer ignore? In the lamp, this is your wick. This is the part of you that draws that emotional fuel upward toward wisdom instead of leaving it stuck at the bottom as heaviness. Number 4, once we've listened at that level, now we're ready to clarify the outcome that we truly want and the one that we truly desire. This is not just about, I want this problem to go away, but on the other side of this disruption, who do you want to be, my friends? How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to remember yourself in this season? What impact do you still feel called to? And to call to in this arena for me, and I'm taking baby steps to release this podcast. It took me a long time. There was so much self-doubt and fear, but I took a leap of faith because my motto is always, I will not allow perfection to be the enemy of progress. And so for you, you might write a simple sentence that says, I want to come through this as a mother, as a father, as a friend, as a woman, a man, a leader who remains truthful, grounded, and compassionate even when I am under pressure. Or for you, it may be, I want to protect my health and dignity while honoring my commitments. When you name the outcome you desire at the level of character and impact, you stop letting the disruption write the entire story and begin to co-author a different chapter. And when we think about the lamp, here is where you are adjusting the shade of the lamp, your boundaries, right? You're deciding how you want your light, and you are deciding how you're going to direct that so it does not blind you and others, right? But offers steady illumination. And finally, number 5, we will identify the next wise step that aligns with that intention. So I'm not asking you to do 10 steps. I'm not asking for a 3-year plan. I'm inviting you to take just one action over the next day, the next couple hours, the next weeks that embodies the leader, the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the friend, the coworker, the human being that you're becoming. And that might be scheduling a clarifying conversation. That might be setting a boundary or asking for support or taking a real day of rest. Ooh, I've been doing a lot of that. Or for you, it might be documenting what you know, or simply pausing before you respond to that email or that text message. The question here is, this is what I want you to ask yourself. What is one small step I can take that is significant enough to move me forward, to move me toward intentional transformation rather than deeper into reactivity? When we think about, again, the image of the lamp, this is the flame. Ooh, this is the flame. This is the invisible and visible expression of everything. Oh, that's happening inside the lamp. One wise action that lets your values, your soul, and your hard-earned wisdom to be seen. So as we move through the rest of this year, I want you to remember these movements. And I also want you to honor what you've just done. I know you may need to pause and, practice these one by one, and that's okay. I appreciate you taking time in the middle of a full and complex life to look honestly at your own story instead of only managing everyone else's. So, a quick recap of what we've just walked through. Number 1, name where disruption is pressing on you most intensely. So use the wheel of life to move from everything is too much to this is where the strain is landing. Number 2, give language to what you're feeling. So use the emotions or feelings wheel to treat your emotional life as a messenger, right? A messenger with wisdom rather than something to push aside. Number 3, listen at the level of your soul. Ask yourself, what is this season trying to show me? Not just what the season is taking from you based on the experiences that you have survived or that you're going through right now. Number 4, clarify the outcome you truly desire. You deserve that. Whether it's the kind of leader or human being you want to be on the other side of this disruption. You deserve that. You're enough. You matter. You came here for a reason. And I know disruption, crisis, trauma, all of those noises have a way of distracting you. But I want you to know that you deserve to be the kind of human being on the other side of that. And finally, choose one next wise step, one action that lets your inner lamp burn a little steadier and a little truer. If all you do after this episode is hold onto those 5 moments and take them one step at a time, you are already practicing achieve intentional transformation. You don't have to do them all at once. Because I believe that just by listening today, you're shifting from being carried by disruption to co-authoring a different story with your own soul and with the people you lead. And so as you go back into your day, as you go back into the month, the year, whatever time you listen to this, I invite you to keep a few questions close to heart. Ask yourself, what am I actually navigating right now? What am I truly feeling about it? What am I truly, truly, deeply feeling about it? Who am I becoming through this? And what is my next wise, right-sized step? You might write your answers in a journal. I offer a journal on my website. It's on Amazon. You can type Dr. Leonie H. Mattison. It's a journal for transformation. And as I said in my last podcast, men, I'm working on it because many of you reach out to me. So I am working on that. But it is. Let me see if I can grab it. Hold on a second. I got to grab hold on. I have to grab this book. So I want to make sure. I always have to, you just have to bear with me. This is a new journey for me and I'm excited about the journey, but I'm also learning. So let me go ahead and make sure I don't want to give you the wrong title, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's the Journal of a Transforming Woman. And as I said before, I'm working on one for the men, but you can try that journal as well. So if you're listening and thinking, my family, my friend, my team need this. Maybe you're thinking our organization is standing in this kind of disruption, or maybe for you, you're saying our community could use the support to steady itself and reimagine the future. I want you to know that you do not have to navigate this alone. This is the work I'm called to. You are welcome to reach out and let me know how I can support you and your team. I'll connect you to my network because we're here to really help you achieve intentional transformation. So whether it's through a conversation, a retreat, a training session with you, your executive team, or you may want to hire me as your next president and CEO. I'm here to help individuals, teams, and organizations truly achieve intentional transformation and the outcomes that matter. So thank you for spending time. Thank you. I appreciate the gift of your time today. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for being with us. I also want to appreciate your courage, because I know it took a lot of courage to look within, and it will take a lot of courage to look within, and for the work you carry in the world, it matters. If this conversation has been helpful, I invite you to share it with someone who is navigating disruption as well, so they know they're not alone. So in the next episode, we will continue to move through the THREAD threat system together, one step at a time, as I promised, so you can keep shining as a wise, visionary, beautiful, radiant, courageous, clear-minded individual, human being that you are, even in seasons where you never would have chosen. Until then, may your base be steady, your oil replenished, your wick tended, your shape adjusted with care, and your flame protected. This is Dr. Leonie H. Mattison, and you've been listening to Achieve Intentional Transformation podcast. One thoughtful conversation, one wise decision, one transformed life, community, organization at a time. Thank you. Thank you for the gift of your presence, your time, and contribution. And remember, this show is for you, with you, and by you. So continue to share your ideas with me. I welcome all of it. Take care now, my friends, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.